The first concrete name has surfaced in Toronto's GM search. His name is Brad Treliving. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, kind of close to home because, I'm out west here. We follow the Flames pretty closely. All my buddies do. And it's crazy how that guy went from a walking god for pulling together that deal last year. He gets Uyghur, he gets Huberto. Everyone kind of knew Johnny was going to go. No one cared too much that Johnny was going to leave. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, he needed to go maybe to Chuck. Tough loss, but it just seemed like he wasn't hanging around. And for losing your guys and apparently having no power over that to replace him with that kind of talent was a legend for pulling off that deal. And then those guys, especially Huberto doesn't show up this year. I mean, the biggest fall from grace you can see point production wise, and all of a sudden he's gone and he hasn't done anything. And look at the mess he left in Calgary, and his naysayers are just tearing him apart. But at the end of the day, I think he's a pretty solid GM. Has he won a whole bunch being the GM? Maybe not, but he's got experience all right. I think that the deal he did pull together in Calgary remains a good deal. It's not his fault that Huberto decided to shit his pants this year. And I think at the end of the day, that trade could come back to be an all right deal, hopefully, anyway, for Calgary.
So Treliving's 53. As you mentioned, he parted ways with Calgary in April. He spent 9 years as Flames GM. He made the playoffs 5 times, never made it past round two. 5 different head coaches. I think in terms of a checklist, I think he hits a lot of boxes. You mentioned experience, success, a bit of both. I mean, made the playoffs 5 out of 9 years. I mentioned how hard it is to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Does he have the ability to make the big move? I would say yes. Made the Matthew Tkachuk one, Dougie Hamilton. There are others. Like, he's not involved, or not afraid, I should say, to get his hands dirty. And that's another sort of aspect to look at in this position. He has experience in a big time hockey market, right? Being in Calgary, the media is really, really strong and active there, as it is for the majority of Canada. And you need that in Toronto. So for me, I think he checks a lot of boxes, but you're going to get the Dubas side. They're not going to be happy with any decision. I can tell you that right now, Rosie.
Yeah, if anyone's in love with Dubas still, it doesn't matter who they bring in. They're going to be naysayers and people picking the person apart. Personally, I like Ray Shero and don't understand why he's not part of the conversation. But that being said, I'm more curious about who they bring in. What is his philosophy on hockey? I imagine it's going to be up to him to make a decision on the coach and what type of coach does he want to have involved. How does he want to coach the team? What type of team are we going to build? And I think, my thoughts on that, this team needs to get some more jam and some more fu and some more playoff character in their locker room, because these 100-point seasons aren't getting the job done in the playoffs. So I think that needs to be addressed. And whoever comes in, that's my number one concern is what direction is he going in reference to getting a playoff hockey team ready here.
And of course, very curious to see what transpires in terms of other names coming to the forefront. It's always intriguing, and it's too early to call Brad Treliving a front runner, but there's a reason why they spoke to this guy first. No.
I would think so. I mean, he's a big name. He's just coming off the hot seat there. He doesn't have any dust to knock off or cobwebs. He's
Yeah.
plugged right in, right? So, and the season didn't go the way they wanted. They made an obvious directional change with Sutter and himself. And I mean, I think if those guys that are there had a better season, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But that's the way of the business, and he's available. So I can understand why he's the front runner. And it's not just him that is a viable option, remember. So he's the
Yeah.
name that's popping up right now, and we'll just see where it goes.